Hello you Anglophonians. For today's episode we return back to the wild, wild west. And we hear about the story of Lucky Luke's Lookalike. The story begins in Arizona, where Lucky Luke goes to the small town of Silverbrook. But when he enters the saloon, panic breaks out among the guests. The bartender can enlighten Luke. He looks confusingly like a criminal named Mad Jim, who is currently being held in the local jail. But Mad Jim is supposed to be hanged the next morning, so there shouldn't be any confusion between Luke and him then. However, Mad Jim's cronies have also noticed the resemblance between Jim and Luke and come up with a plan. They manage to overpower and stun Lucky Luke. They drag him to the jail and exchange him for Mad Jim. The next morning, of course, no one believes Luke's assurances that he isn't Mad Jim, and he is led to the place of execution. Well, Luke isn't called Lucky Luke for nothing. He's lucky, and the sheriff makes a mistake. Luke escapes and sets off on the trail of Mad Jim and his gang. Lucky Luke's Lookalike appeared in Spirou Magazine from late 1947 to May 1948. Morris refined his drawing technique again. He received advice from the well-known artist Joseph Julien, Gigé. Morris tried many new things because he wanted to define what his cowboy series was all about. So his background drawings became more and more sophisticated and Luke's figure slimmer and more distinctive. It was getting farther and farther away from the form that Morris had actually designed for a cartoon. Also, and I have to add a spoiler warning for the end of the story, we see a rarity in this story that would eventually disappear from Lucky Luke's adventures altogether. Luke kills an opponent in a direct duel. Of course, this was a convenient way to get rid of this doppelganger, who would be confused with Luke if he stayed in prison. But it was also pretty brutal, and Morris would improve Luke's skill with a Colt, so that he wouldn't need to kill his opponents. During this time, in which Morris not only worked with Gillian, but also with André Franquin, who would later take over Spirou, an idea was born. The idea probably arose out of a certain naivete. America was in the so-called golden age of comics at the time. Morris, Gillian and Franquin had a certain vision, which Gillian later described as follows. We imagined America was the Mecca of comics. Besides, Morris wanted to get to know the famous American West firsthand anyway, in which he let the adventures of the cowboy he invented play out. All in all, it seemed like a crazy idea, but over the course of 1948, this idea would not only take shape, but would also be brought to reality. So there you have it. It is said that every one of us has one or more doppelganger. And I'm wondering where mine are. Well, see you next time.